Okay, so we're out of the barn and we are into the computer. So we have this z-score from 0 to 1.27 that we need to be able to find the area of. And like we said, it's a calculus problem. So we're going to let Statcrunch do it for us. So it's nice that we have Statcrunch here to help us. So in order to do this, you're going to go and open up Statcrunch, and then you're going to go to Stat Calculators Normal. Stat Calculators Normal. And it's going to open up a normal distribution that looks like this. So you've got a bell-shaped curve of normal distribution, and it says standard and between. Standard gives you tails, and between gives you between. And then it has the mean and the standard deviation. Now, for us, we're always going to leave that mean and standard deviation as 0 and 1. We're never going to touch that, okay? And I'll repeat that again a number of times. Never touch that guy. So instead, we're going to use the bottom level. That's what we're going to put our things in. But the area that we have shaded in is a between. So notice that it looks like it's between 0 and 1.27. So we click over here to between, and then down here, we're going to put our z-scores. So we're going to put the lower boundary of 0 and the upper boundary of 1.27. And then we're going to click compute. Now the graph should look like the graph that we have pictured, that we drew. And here is the area. So it's 0.39795, so 0.3980. Okay, and that's how we get the area. So the next one we want to find gave us a graph, and on the graph it tells us that we want the shaded region between negative 2.01 and 0.97. So again, it's a between, so we make sure we're still on between, and we're going to go from negative 2.01 to positive 0.97. Click enter. And again, we want to make sure that our graph looks something like the graph that we drew on the paper. So it looks, again, not perfect, but it looks about the same. And there is the area that pops out, 0.8118. So it's not very hard to find these areas once you've got Statcrunch up and running, okay? So sometimes they will give it to you in words. So it says, now find the area to the left of z equals 1.99. So we're not doing a between, we're doing the area to the left, and that requires us to go back to standard. Now, area to the left of 1.99, we're going to put 1.99 on our graph, okay? And then we're going to shade to the left, but it doesn't tell us anywhere to stop. So it means we're shading all the way to the left, and we call this a tail. So we're shading the tail, okay? So we want to make sure that we're shading in the right direction. This is to the left, so that's a less than, okay? And we're going to put in our 1.99. And again, we make sure that our graph looks like the graph we drew. And we get an area of 0.9767. Okay, now the next one says to find the area to the right of z equals 3.01. So the area to the right of 3.01, which means we need to, if we're going to draw it, we draw our graph and we put 3.01 over on the right hand side, and then we shade to the right. So means that on Statcrunch we're going to have to shade, or we're going to have to change it to a greater than, and we're going to put in 3.01. And this is all the way off of the graph on Statcrunch, but it's shaded way out here it's shaded. And the area that would be shaded if the graph went further out would be 0.0013. So we have an area of 0.13. Okay. Now let's say that the next one that we got gave us a graph, and it said for us to find the area between negative 2.37 and negative 0.41. So we're back to a between, so we've got to switch back to between. Remember, we're always leaving the mean and the standard deviation alone, just leave it alone. And here we're putting in negative 2.37, and here we're putting in negative 0.41. Again, make sure your graph looks appropriate. Okay, match your graph with the graph that we drew, and we get an area of 0.3320. Okay, so it's as easy as that to find areas on Statcrunch. Okay, whether or not it's a between or a standard, so whether it's asking you for between or for a tail, one way or the other, you can still do it. Now let's go backwards. So the idea now is, if I give you an area, can you give me the z-score that goes with it? So in the first drawing we have there, I've given you a graph, and I've told you that the area is equal to 0.10. So the area is equal to 0.10, and I've got a left tail going on. So because we have a tail going on, we're going to use standard. Okay. And we want to make sure, wait a minute, I'm not sure what's going on there. We want to make sure that we use less than, but instead of putting anything here, this is where the z-score goes, and we don't know the z-score yet. We only know that the area is equal to 0.10. So where the answer would be, we're going to put 0.10 over here. And then if you click enter, the z-score pops up in its box. So we've got negative 1.28 for our z-score. So again, we put the area in for the answer, and then the z-score pops out in the box before. Okay, now the next one says to find z if a left tail is 75% of the graph. So a left tail being 75% of the graph means that it's going to be all the way across the middle, right? And it is still a left tail, so we still want it on less than, but we're going to go all the way across the middle. So we'll leave this as less than, but we're going to change our answer to 0.75. And if we do that, a z-score pops out. Now this is a small z-score, but it's still a z-score. So we've got a z-score of 0.67. So that z-score right there is 0.67. Okay, now it works the same way if you have an area to the right. So this time the graph that I gave you is an area that is a right tail of area 0.05. So we just need to make sure that our graph matches here. So we're going to switch to greater than. So we've got a right tail. And then we're going to switch this to 0.05. So the area goes in for the answer, 0.05, and then lo and behold, out pops a z-score of 1.64. Okay. Now, we can do tails this way by using the less than or greater than, but we can also do between. So the next example says, now find the z-scores that bound the middle 95%. So we're looking at the middle 95%, which means we're doing a between. So we click on between, and the nice thing about statisticians or the normal curve is whenever it says bounds the middle, whatever, middle 95%, it means that it's symmetrical. So we don't have to worry about it being off kilter or anything. It's going to do it symmetrical. So we just click on between, so we get on between, and then all we have to do is change this area to 0.95. So we change the answer to 0.95. And then this time we get two z-scores. So we get the negative 1.96, which is right here. And then we get the positive 1.96, which is symmetrically on the other side. Okay. And you can do that with whatever area they give you. If they gave you 50%, you just change this to 0.50, and there are your z-scores. Okay. If they gave you 85%, change that to 0.85, and there are your z-scores. Okay. All right, so using Statcrunch to find the areas is not that bad. So what you're doing for this lecture, these practice problems, is just getting really comfortable using Statcrunch. So use this handout and Statcrunch and practice a couple more just to make sure you're good with that. And then next time we're gonna do word problems. So next time we add the word problems to it. All right, sound good? Okie dokie, see you next time.